Okay, let's unpack this. Close your eyes for a second and imagine standing in a place that feels incredibly ancient, but also really vibrantly alive. A land where history isn't just in books, it's sort of etched into the mountains, woven into daily life. That's the kind of place we're exploring in this deep dive.
And we're using some specific source material today, right? Excerpts from Discover Peru with FlightNHotels.com.
Exactly. So our mission is to take what these sources tell us and really unpack the full picture they paint of Peru.
Yeah.
Not just the one famous icon everyone knows, but the incredible breadth and depth the country offers.
Right. The source presents it as this multidimensional gem, western edge of South America.
Mm-hmm.
It acknowledges Machu Picchu's fame, obviously, but really argues the appeal is much broader. Something for pretty much everyone.
So let's jump right into that. The core question the source seems to tackle, why Peru? What makes it stand out according to this material?
Well, right off the bat, it's positioned as this cultural and geographical marvel. It talks about a unique blend, ancient heritage, modern charm, and, crucially, highlights it as having one of the most diverse ecosystems on Earth.
Wow. Okay. Diverse ecosystems, ancient history, and modern life. That's quite a mix. What specific elements does the source really zoom in on?
They list a few key pillars, sort of. First, there's cultural heritage.
Right.
They really emphasize these ancient civilizations going back thousands of years, and specifically the huge legacy of the Inca Empire.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that the cities, the ruins, they're not just sites, they're like storytellers of this really deep past.
Thousands of years of stories held right there in the land.
And that diversity you mentioned.
Absolutely. That's the second big draw, natural diversity. The source paints this incredible picture, towering Andes Mountains, the vastness of Lake Titicaca, the dense Amazon jungle, even the stark beauty of the desert coast.
So it's this huge range of climates and ecosystems all packed into one country.
So you could genuinely go from high-altitude mountains to the world's highest navigable lake, then down into a rainforest, all in one trip.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the picture it paints. It's quite a geographical journey.
Incredible. What else is on their list?
Well, world-class cuisine gets a big mention, described as among the best globally. The source actually name-checks famous dishes like ceviche, lomo saltado, ají de gallina, suggesting that food is a really central part of the whole experience.
That makes sense. Peruvian food has definitely had a global moment, hasn't it?
It really has.
Yeah.
And the final point they stress.
What's that?
Friendly locals. The source emphasizes the warm hospitality, the rich local traditions, and frames interacting with people as really integral to an unforgettable cultural immersion.
That gives us a great sense of the why. So now let's talk about the where. The source details a whole list of top destinations that showcase all this diversity. Where do we start? I think I know.
We absolutely have to start with Machu Picchu. The source calls it the crown jewel of South American tourism. UNESCO site, high Andes, draws millions. It's the icon.
And getting there is part of the magic, isn't it? That's what the source implies.
It does, yeah. Whether you tackle the Inca Trail hike, which sounds amazing but challenging, or take the scenic train from Cusco. The source describes the journey itself as mesmerizing, builds the anticipation.
Which brings us nicely to Cusco.
Exactly. Cusco, the historic capital of the Inca Empire.
Right, the heart of it all.
The heart of that civilization, yeah. And today, the source describes it as this vibrant city where colonial architecture kind of beautifully merges with indigenous culture.
Okay.
It points to exploring the sacred valley nearby, wandering the markets, visiting ruins like Sacsayhuaman, essential Cusco experiences.
So it's really not just a jumping off point for Machu Picchu. It's a destination in its own right, layered with history.
Definitely. And then there's the current capital, Lima. The source gives it a pretty impressive title, actually.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It explicitly calls Lima the gastronomic capital of South America.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. While maybe sometimes overlooked by travelers rushing off elsewhere, the source really highlights it. A treasure trove of art, architecture, and yes, amazing food. It suggests exploring districts like Miraflores for the coastal views and Barranco for its sort of bohemian charm.
So Lima's the place for modern Peruvian culture, art, and that incredible food scene. Okay, shifting gears dramatically in terms of landscape. What about Lake Titicaca?
Lake Titicaca, presented as just a truly unique natural wonder.
Yeah.
The source notes it's the highest navigable lake in the world, straddling the Peru-Bolivia border.
Right.
Known for its stunning blue waters, but also those unique floating reed islands.
Oh, the Uros people live there, don't they?
Exactly. Visiting the Uros people, described as one of the oldest Andean cultures, and exploring Tequila Island are highlighted as key things to do there.
Floating islands made of reeds. That just sounds surreal. And moving south, there's the White City.
That's Arequipa. Gets its nickname from the white volcanic stone cellar used in its beautiful colonial buildings.
Ah, okay.
And it's dramatically set against snow-capped volcanoes. Plus, the source points out, just a few hours away is Colca Canyon.
One of the world's deepest canyons, right?
That's the one. Noted as one of the deepest.
And this is where you might see the Andean condors.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The source specifically mentions that chance to witness the majestic flight of the Andean condor. Must be awe-inspiring in that setting.
Definitely. So we've had high mountains, deep canyons, now for something completely different.
The Amazon rainforest.
Right.
The source explains you can access the Peruvian Amazon from places like Puerto Maldonado or Iquitos.
And what do you do there?
Well, suggested activities include cruising along the Amazon River itself, trekking through the dense jungle, imagine the sounds, and just immersing yourself in the incredible biodiversity.
It's just amazing, the variety. Mountains, cities, lakes, canyons, jungles. What about some of the more mysterious sites the source brings up?
That would definitely be the Nazca Lines.
Yes.
The source describes them as these mysterious ancient geoglyphs etched into the desert floor. Huge figures.
Mm-hmm.
And it notes the best way to really see them is from the air because they're just enormous.
And we still don't really know why they're there.
Their origin, their purpose,
yeah,
still baffling archaeologists. A genuine mystery.
How fascinating. A huge desert art gallery with an unknown artist. Okay, back towards the coast. There's a coastal paradise?
Yes, that's Paracas, south of Lima. The source highlights the nearby Ballestas Islands.
Coy.
It actually calls them the Galapagos of Peru.
Really? Why is that?
Because of the sheer abundance of wildlife. It's presented as a great place to spot sea lions, penguins, dolphins, in their natural habitat.
The Peruvian wildlife haven, then?
Yeah.
And for pure, unadulterated...
Huacachina. Definitely Huacachina.
Mad oasis.
Exactly. The source describes it as this unique natural oasis just surrounded by these massive sand dunes, framed as the perfect spot for adventure lovers. Specifically mentions sandboarding down the dunes and taking dune buggy rides. Thrilling stuff.
Sand dunes with a lagoon in the middle? Incredible. And finally, there's a place whose name kind of says it all.
Rainbow Mountain. Vinicunca.
Yes.
The source calls it a surreal landscape high up in the Andes that absolutely lives up to its name. Vibrant, multicolored mineral stripes, just visually stunning.
But it's a tough hike, isn't it?
It does note that, yeah. Challenging, mainly due to the altitude. But the source insists the views are absolutely worth the effort.
What an incredible spectrum of places, ancient wonders, cities, unique nature, wildlife. It really drives home that multidimensional thing the source mentioned at the start.
Totally.
So, given how vast and varied Peru is, the source also talks about actually planning a trip, right? The practical side.
It does, yeah. It suggests that for a country with this much diversity and scale, picking the right platform to help plan is pretty essential.
Makes sense.
It points to using a platform like, well, the one mentioned, FlightNHotels.com, for comprehensive arrangements.
And what kinds of arrangements are we talking about here? Just flights and hotels?
Yeah, it mentions the core stuff. Flight comparisons, worldwide hotel bookings, car rentals.
Okay.
But then it links these directly to planning for Peru. So not just international flights to get there, but also booking crucial local flights inside the country.
Ah, right. Like Lima to Iquitos for the Amazon, or maybe Lima to Arequipa?
Exactly, those kinds of routes.
Yeah.
And reserving hotels strategically near attractions like Machu Picchu or Lake Titicaca, and even considering car rentals for exploring areas like the Sacred Valley or the coast down to Paracas and Huacachina.
So it's really about connecting all those incredible dots logistically. What about the best time of year to go? Does the source give any guidance?
Yeah, it offers a pretty clear split. May to September is the dry season.
Okay.
Presented as ideal for trekking, sightseeing, especially in the Andes, Cusco, Machu Picchu.
Makes sense. Less rain for hiking. And the other half of the year?
October to April. That's the rainy season.
Yeah.
The source notes you get much lusher, greener landscapes then, and usually fewer tourists.
Right.
Framed as potentially a good time for the Amazon, where rain is expected anyway, and maybe the coastal areas too.
That's useful, depending on what you want to prioritize, I suppose. Any other key practical tips in the source for someone heading to Peru?
Yes, a few important ones. Altitude awareness is right up there.
Crucial.
Yeah, Cusco, Lake Titicaca, Rainbow Mountain, They're high up. So the source strongly advises taking time to acclimatize. Don't rush it. Stay well hydrated.
Very sensible advice. What else?
Local currency. The Peruvian sol, PEN. Suggest carrying smaller bills, especially for local markets or more remote areas.
Good tip.
Language-wise, Spanish is official, but Quechua is widely spoken by many indigenous locals too. English is generally okay in the main tourist hubs.
Main connectivity, Wi-Fi and such.
Good in cities. Generally, Wi-Fi is widely available, but as you'd expect it to be limited or non-existent in really rural or remote spots.
Fair enough. And finally, anything on safety.
The source states Peru is generally safe for tourists, but, advises the usual common sense. Be mindful of your belongings, especially in crowded markets or stations. Standard stuff, really.
So we've really covered a lot based on the source material. It paints this incredible picture of Peru, woven from ancient history, stunning nature, amazing food, memorable interactions.
Absolutely. The source's final thought is pretty powerful, actually. It says, Peru is more than just a destination. It's described as a genuinely life-changing experience. It sort of invites you to uncover its secrets, savor its flavors, connect with its ancient soul, whether that's in the Andes, the Amazon, the ruins, or the cities.
It's quite the invitation. So considering this incredible tapestry the source describes from the heights of Machu Picchu and the depths of Colca Canyon to the flavors of Lima and the mysteries of Nazca, which single piece of Peru's ancient soul or immense natural beauty do you feel most compelled to explore first? And what unique mystery do you hope to uncover on your own deep dive?